Hey there guys, I'm TheRoyalGorilla and welcome back to my coverage of E3. Today we're going to be looking at two of the conferences in one because it just makes sense to do it this way, and they are going to be the EA conference and the Ubisoft conference. Now these aren't quite as big as say Microsoft and not as exciting as Bethesda, which is why I've put them into one, but what we're going to do is we're going to start off with EA. So there's not actually a whole lot of new games that were announced. What we actually got from EA were a lot of new information for games that they've already announced. Now one of these games is Need for Speed. We actually got to see some gameplay and it looks okay, it looks promising. It might be a good return to the roots of the series, but we can't really know until we see a bit more of the game. Star Wars The Old Republic is going to receive a new expansion called Knights of the Fallen Empire, so if you play that game you've got that to look forward to. I personally don't, so I don't really know too much about that, so I won't go too much into detail. As I mentioned in the Microsoft conference video, Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2 is a thing, and whereas in the Microsoft we only saw a CGI trailer, in this we actually get to see some actual gameplay. And a couple of the things I said were kinda right. I said something about mech suits, I think, and you did see a mech suit, and that's pretty much it. All it really looks like is, it looks like a very similar game to the first one, just with some new additions, so you know, I don't see how much different they're going to really be able to make it, because graphics-wise, they've got a very set style, so I'm not sure if they can, say, improve the graphics, if you know what I mean. But we'll have to see just how much of a different game that is. Okay, these next couple of games I'm going to completely kind of gloss over. I'm sorry about that, but they're all sports games, and I couldn't really give a toss. So we have NHL 16, NBA Live 16, FIFA 16, and NFL 16. All are sports games that people that like sports play, I guess. I don't know. Now we come to the actual most interesting bits of the EA conference. We saw some of Mirror's Edge Catalyst. And it looks like more Mirror's Edge, to be honest. It pretty much looks no different. The gameplay is almost identical. So there's not really too much to say about it. I think if you've played the old one, you'll look at this and be like, oh look, it's the same game, just different. Does that make sense? It's kind of course the graphics are improved, but in the kind of stylized world that the game has, the graphics just kind of, they still look very similar, just a bit crisper, I guess. So, you know, it's going to be the same game again. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it's got some improvements to mechanics and that kind of thing. But it's really kind of hard to tell unless you actually have hands-on with it, so we'll see. So we finally got to see some gameplay of Star Wars Battlefront, and watching this first set of gameplay, it looks like reskinned Battlefield 4. I don't really know what else to say about it, to be honest. The graphics are very nice, that's something. It looks like Star Wars, the character models are very nice, the weapons are something I not really had a problem with, but they look like your standard military shooter weapons, so you've got like an LMG and stuff, but they shoot a laser instead. So yeah, I was really hoping for some more interesting weapons, really. Like even the blaster pistol, which is like the standard blaster, well, I meant the blaster rifle. The blaster rifle, which is like your standard soldier arms, that's like, it's just like a machine gun now. It's like it used to be like this one-shot thing, and I don't know. We'll just have to wait a bit longer, I think. The game looks fun and I will probably pick it up, but unfortunately with a November 17th release date, I believe, I think it's going to get completely swamped by Fallout 4, which is coming out on the 10th, if I remember correctly. So, like, pretty much everyone that gets Fallout 4 is probably still going to be balls deep in that. So, I might hurt their sales a bit. I don't know, it might. But the game does look fun. It just looks like a modern version of the Star Wars. And I'll come back to this in a minute in the Ubisoft conference. But the Battlefields did just feel a bit empty, and you don't really get this large-scale conflict feeling that you're used to in Battlefront games. So it's a bit sad, but hopefully the game will be fun at least. So we'll just have to stop comparing it to the original. They should have called it something different. There wouldn't have been all this arguments. Okay, so now we're on to a couple of final announcements from the EA conference. We got to have a look at a new Mass Effect game called Mass Effect Andromeda, and all they really showed was a cinematic trailer, and you see the Mako and a jetpack or something appear on it. I've never really played Mass Effect, so I'm not too informed about it. So if you're into Mass Effect, go and watch that trailer because you might really enjoy it. There was this new kind of puzzle platformer game they announced called Unravel. It reminded me quite a lot of the character-wise of Little Big Planet. It's just like I think they call it Yanni or something, and I'm not really into platformers, so if that's your kind of thing, you might enjoy that. It looks okay. And finally, we have Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and it's a mobile collectible card game. That's pretty much it, really. Oh, and there was one more thing. They also announced a Minions mobile game, and this actually made me laugh because, as we talked about in the Bethesda conference, they announced their Fallout mobile game, and they made an emphasis on, oh, there's not going to be wait timers, there's not going to be, like, stuff you can buy to advance yourself in the game. You can buy some extra lunchboxes, but that's about it. That's just, like, random drops. But then we were looking at this Minions game that EA were announcing, and what can you see in the top right corner? Oh, little symbols so you can buy extra in-game money, and then there were wait timers, and it's just such an EA move, so, you know, what's new? And there you go, that's pretty much it for the EA conference. Let's now move on to Ubisoft. Okay, so Ubisoft has a nice mix of information from games that we've already known about and some newly announced games. So let's get started with the ones that we already know about. So a lot of this information is actually like expansions and that kind of thing. So we've got some new information for a DLC pack for the crew, which is called Wild Run, and it just adds in some kind of off-road vehicles that are larger, and that's coming out in November. Also, Trials Fusion is getting a brand new DLC pack, and this is very Fallout 3 Blood Dragon-esque, because like the trailer they showed for it was a cat with a machine gun, I think, riding a unicorn that was breathing fire. So it's just going to be crazy, pretty much. So that looks kind of interesting. We saw some more gameplay from Tom Clancy's The Division. We saw an area called the Dark Zone, which is kind of, I guess, your more high-leveled area in the world. Now, something that made me laugh about this trailer is just the communication between the players as they're playing. They act like they're in an actual war zone, and I'm like, if you did actually play that game, you know there would be like 9-year-olds running around screaming. The way they're showing off the game is as this real tactical military experience. And it's not going to play like that at all. Like, let's just use the GTA analogy, where everyone plays online as Trevor. And you're not going to get away from that. And you even saw that in the trailer at the end, when the guy turns around and shoots all his friends. Like, if you did that in real life, then people aren't going to play with you again. Especially not if they're, like, this tactical team when they play. I don't know. So, sticking with Tom Clancy, we also saw some more Rainbow Six Siege. They announced that there is a beta coming in September, and they also showed some of the story and the terror hunt, which is like the terrorist hunt from the old games, I guess. So, as usual, they announced their new Just Dance 2016 game when they had Jason Derulo on stage, and it was... Go and watch it for yourself, and you can judge it for yourself, but I didn't judge it well, take it that way. And one of the more interesting things about Just Dance 2016 is it will have a kind of music subscription service, so you can select certain songs that you want to use in the game and stuff, and it's coming to Wii U, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, so you won't require a Kinect to use it, and they're doing something with the phones, or I don't know how it works. You'll go and look for that yourself, I don't understand it. Finally, for the games we already know about, we got to see some more Assassin's Creed Syndicate. All that we really got was another CGI trailer, so, you know, not too much to talk about there. Now on to the newly announced games. They started off very strongly with a new South Park game called South Park The Fractured Butthole. But don't worry, they didn't spell butthole in the bad way, they spelled it in a okay way, I guess. So that might be quite fun. I didn't play the original, so I can't really speak about it too much, but a lot of people really like that game, so that's probably a good announcement. Definitely one of the more interesting things that they announced is a game called For Honor. And what we saw of For Honor kind of puts it out as a multiplayer game that focuses on melee combat. And what they actually showed on stage was some multiplayer gameplay, which was like 4v4 of knights fighting off in an arena kind of situation, I guess. But what was really interesting about this game is as they ran into battle, there was probably a good 50 AI soldiers running in at the same time. And this is where I'm going to go back to a talk about Star Wars Battlefront, in which I said about it not being very chaotic. It didn't really feel like a war zone. That's exactly what Star Wars Battlefront needs. It needs some AI, like Titanfall-esque, because you're running around, you've also got all these AI as well to kind of fill out the battles, but it doesn't have that. And For Honor, the multiplayer looks really fun, actually, and the weapons seemed like they were heavy, and it looked really, really, like, violent. It looked fun. So they also announced Anno 2025, which is a city builder game that looks quite fun, along with a brand new Trackmania game called Trackmania Turbo, which is coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which is actually playable in VR, which sounds really, really nauseating. So that should be a really fun game. And the final announcement, this was their big end of show announcement, is that there is a brand new Ghost Recon game called Ghost Recon Wildlands. And essentially the premise of this game is that it's a massive open world shooter that is very focused on player choice. And it really seemed kind of strange to have this massive open world where you play as essentially just a soldier with like assault rifles on your back and a weapon on your side. And it really looked kind of strange. I don't really know what to expect from it. It did actually look kind of fun, so I might have a look into it a bit more. So yeah, Ghost Recon Wildlands, yeah, one to watch. And that is it for the EA and Ubisoft conferences. There's a real mix of stuff that was announced. They're probably two of my least favourite conferences from E3 this year so far. EA is definitely the worst. I was bored through most of it, to be honest. And Ubisoft had a couple of nice announcements. So, without further ado, I will wrap it up here. Thank you for watching, guys. The next one I will be posting will be the Sony conference, so you don't have too long to wait till that. And I've got some kind of interesting stuff to talk about with that. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, guys, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been TheRoyalGorilla, over and out.
His name is Luke, and he's more than your average gamer. No ordinary let's player. Know about Easter eggs much better. Da 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 da. His name is Luke, aka TheRoyalGorilla. Even bigger than the giant Godzilla. Follow him in every game he goes. Da 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 da. He's almost got everything you need, from GTA 5 to Assassin's Creed. And now